Mr. Welch of Vermont.
Well, I thank Senator Lee for being here. I just have a short statement. You know, there's an air of unreality about this for me, and I find this extremely discouraging. Mr. Gentz is right. People want us to abide by the rules. Senator, you're making a very passionate statement about the rules. But, you know, this institution of Congress and the House and the Senate is seen rightly by Americans as totally dysfunctional. And we are in the process of proving the point. I mean, there is a fundamental difference between deliberation and destructive delay. That's my view, and I think it's the American people's view. The rules that we work by in the House, the rules that you work by in the Senate, those are designed by senators and House members, and they suit our interests. They don't get elevated to the level of constitutional rights. They're rules that oftentimes serve the interests of the majority party in both bodies. The problem we're having here is Democrats can't work with Republicans in either body. The Senate, I believe, is seen as having a series of procedures that have one purpose, and that is to delay and not get to an answer to move forward on the business that America needs to be done. I mean, it is an astonishing spectacle what we're doing in this Congress in refusing to do the people's business. We haven't passed a budget. And I don't point the finger of blame at one party or the other. This institution just isn't working. I mean, it has had a history in the past where it's been able to make decisions. So when we have what sounds to me like a very academic discussion, and I put myself in the seat of a constituent of mine who's wondering, what is it we are talking about? We have not passed a budget. That is disgraceful. And 2 years ago, when the Democrats were in majority, the finger of responsibility was pointed by my colleagues on the Republican side at our failure to do it. Now, the Republicans haven't been able, who are in the majority, at least in the House, not in the Senate, but have an active and powerful minority. We haven't been able to pass a budget. This is very destructive. So at the end of the day, you may be right in your legal argument, but it is not going to move this country forward, whether you're right or President Obama's right. So I just think we got to move past these procedural maneuvers that we create to allow us to assert our will and make decisions, do it in an up or down vote, allow there to be clarity for the American people where each of us stands. If they don't like the vote that we made, they've got the opportunity at the next election to send somebody else here to do it. So thank you for being here, but I don't think we're getting anywhere.
If I can respond to that, Congressman Welch, I appreciate your comments. Your concerns are very legitimate, and I share very many of them. Let me reemphasize that, you know, delay is built into the system. Part of the delay that's built into the system is constitutional. Part of it is based on the rules of each body. And the rules of each body are, of course, constitutionally the prerogative of each body. The President of the United States, when he gave his State of the Union address last week in your chamber here, told us that what he'd like is to see a rule change and a policy change in the Senate that will lead to an up or down vote for each nominee within a finite period of time. That, of course, is ultimately a decision for the Senate to make. But I think that is where the debate and discussion over this ought to be. In other words, the frustration that he has, that members of this body have, that members of the Senate have, or the American people in general have, ought to be directed toward a discussion about whether or in what way the Senate might change the rules of its procedure, and not towards saying we're frustrated with those rules, we're frustrated with the way that they manifest themselves in delay, and we therefore want the President to ignore the Constitution. That final conclusion isn't the natural, logical, legitimate product of saying we're frustrated. We ought to have a discussion about the rules themselves and not simply capitulate and say, let's give up and the President can violate the Constitution if he wants.